Hello everyone, welcome to the Xander Zone podcast. I'm Alex T. Hirsch. We're going to be talking about the NBA today and everything that is wrong with it, but more importantly, how we can fix it. Chad Ford just released his first NBA mock draft the other day, and guess who is projected as the number one pick? Ben Simmons. Guess who's projected to take him? The Philadelphia 76ers once again. They have been one of the worst teams in the NBA for the last 5 years, including the last couple of drafts where they've been able to snag Jahlil Okafor with the number 3 picks, Nerlens Noel with the number 7th pick, and then they were able to get Joel Embiid with the number 3 pick as well. Now they're looking at getting another number 1 pick with Ben Simmons. There's a problem with the NBA. The fact that the Philadelphia 76ers are continuously at the bottom of the league and trying to get these players and still not getting better, there's something wrong with that, and that needs to be fixed. So I've come up with a 3-step process in order to fix the NBA. While it might not ever happen, it still is a legitimate idea, so bear with me through this. The first thing to do in the NBA is you have to eliminate tanking. Right now, there are 14 teams that are capable of getting the number 1 pick based off of the draft lottery. All 14 of them have chances of getting that number 1 pick. Because of that chance, all 14 of them are capable of actually tanking in the draft. They could all theoretically suck so that they could get that number 1 pick. The reason why they want to suck to get that number 1 pick is because the way that the NBA works right now is you have to have superstars surrounded by all-stars in order to contend for a title. Now, superstars in this league tend to only go to big markets: LA, New York City, Miami, Chicago, or the San Francisco area, which would be Golden State. So if their superstars are only going to those places, then the only way to get a superstar otherwise is through the draft. And the pool of talent in the NBA draft is not very good. Typically, right now, out of last year's draft, there are only about 10 players that are earning regular minutes on an NBA team right now. And going back to the 2009 draft with Blake Griffin, Steph Curry, James Harden, there's only, which is considered one of the better drafts in recent years, there's only 17 players earning regular minutes in the NBA right now. And 10 of those players 10 of the players of the 60 drafted never even played an NBA game. So there isn't a big pool of talent, which is leading teams to tank so that they can get the number 1 pick in the draft, which is pretty much the only way to get a superstar. So if we eliminate the lottery, those bottom 14 teams, can't all tank. Maybe 2 or 3 teams start tanking for that number 1 pick, but not 14, which leads us to the next step in the process. The next step in the process would be to get rid of 10 teams in the NBA, make it a 20-team league. By getting rid of the 10 teams with an average who have had the worst attendance percentages over the last 10 years on average, you can get rid of teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Washington Wizards, Phoenix Suns, Philadelphia 76ers, and so on. But not only does getting rid of them help the cause, getting rid of them adds 150 more players into the NBA that were already on the NBA, but adds them into free agency with the remaining 20 teams able to pick up these players. That includes stars like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Andrew Wiggins from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns, Jahlil Okafor. These are actual talents that are able to go to other teams. So the question then is, what is to stop, say, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who already have a phenomenal team, or the Golden State Warriors, from snatching up these talents? Well, you have to keep the same salary cap regulations in place, which means there's still a luxury tax, and therefore teams are allowed to re-sign as many of they want and give as big of contracts as they want to their own players. But free agency-wise, there is a hard salary cap and they can't go over it, which means that there are teams in the league that would still be able to, with like the Boston Celtics, who don't have a superstar but have ample cap room, they would be able to bid on some of these players that are coming from these 10 eliminated teams from the league. Now, the last step into fixing the NBA would be to adopt a version of the English Premier League format. The way by doing this would be you would take the 10 best teams from last year, and then the remaining 10 teams, and separate them into 2 divisions. Let's call them Division 1 and Division 2. The top 10 teams will play in Division 1, and the top 8 teams of Division 1 will play in the playoffs. at the end of the year. And then whoever wins that will win the championship. The bottom 2 teams of Division 1 would then be relegated to Division 2. And the top 2 teams of Division 2 would be able to take their place in Division 1. So now the teams in Division 2 have an incentive to win because they literally cannot win any trophies by being in Division 2. All they can do is be able to move up into the Division 1 league where then they can possibly win a trophy. It will eliminate tanking because teams, if there's no lottery, which means the 10th worst team doesn't have a chance at getting the number 1 pick, they will actually have an incentive to play hard and to try to win. And maybe you have 1 or 2 teams tanking for that number 1 pick, but the number 1 pick, because there's 10 less teams in the NBA and there's a bigger pool of talent for the 20 teams, isn't as big of a deal because you can actually get superstars through those 150 players, and more teams will have superstars now, which means there's more well-rounded teams, and they actually would be able to compete against each other, and you wouldn't be just seeing 3 or 4 teams that we know can win the championship and then 26 other teams who are just playing for fun right now. So if you can get rid of the lottery, get rid of 10 teams in the league, and then create a new format similar to the English Premier League, you might be able to fix the NBA because the NBA is suffering right now. Their ratings have gone down tremendously. From the Michael Jordan years in 1996, their network ratings have cut in half to right now, as well as their finals ratings since Michael Jordan's last championship in 1998 was at 18.7 was their finals rating. Now last year's was at 10.8. That's a huge drop-off. The NBA needs to be fixed. And part of the reason there's a huge drop-off is because there are so many bad teams in the NBA. Now, obviously, this probably won't happen. I don't think any market is going to willingly say, hey, let's get rid of our NBA team and not make any money off of it for the betterment of the league. No, that's not going to happen. And, in an ideal world, in a fantasy world, this could happen. But there's something does need to happen, whether it's just taking one of these suggestions, like creating a Premier League format or getting rid of the lottery. That will help fix the NBA as well. So as long as they can do something, they can't leave it as it is because right now it's not worthwhile to watch, and that's why the ratings are going down. And it once was one of the better leagues in America, and now it's gone down. People watch baseball, hockey, and football over it. So something needs to be done. Anyways, that's it for the Xander Zone. I'm Alex T. Hirsch, signing off. Catch you again some other time.